Hey everyone, friends, family, strangers on the internet, whoever sees this. This is mainly for me, so I'm sorry in advance. There's probably gonna be some crying. There's probably gonna be some pauses. Um, this is not something I ever wanted to do, but this is something that I need to talk about. Um, and I wanted to do this to have something I could look back on and remember. So, unfortunately, for those who have known me or have seen like my social media profiles or anything like that, they'll see like little icons um, of a schnauzer, and that is to represent Lily. So, Lily was my best friend. We've pretty much been together since day one, and unfortunately, we had to say goodbye this week. And It it was hard. Lily was a uh I'm so sorry. Ah, Lily was a special part of my life and quite a few other people's. I know animals passing. It's nothing new. You typically always outlive your pets. They're only here for such a short amount of time. But even the people who have barely met her or knew her for collectively a visit or two have it's really shaken a lot. Um and I wanted to collect all my all my thoughts and memories of her. Um so that way you can always have something positive. Considering this being positive is weird. But wanting to look back on like a video or something that I could recall and remember all the good times and hard times. Um, cause that's life. So, oh, anyway, so starting day one, Lily was an accident. Some best friends had a dog that they were unable to get spayed because she went into heat. But they were traveling that week, so they traveled. Um, Nature happened, and then they were pregnant and had some dogs. So my wife, she's never had a dog before, but this was a unique opportunity. Schnauzers being hypoallergenic would help with her and her family. Her being small, not you don't have to worry about destroying mass destruction and all the things like that. And it's a lot easier to get into, and especially since we would have her at such a young age, we could really train her and work with her to try to get her to really work well and everything intertwined with our day-to-day lives. So it was a good experience, and whenever things were all being discussed, I was telling Christine um, uh, that when it came to picking out something, I typically like the runts of the litters, as they're usually um, a lot more sweet, a lot more fragile, and they tend to be the most loving. And that that could not be more true with Lily. Where she was not the runt of the litter, she became, I guess, the living runt of the litter, as the actual runt didn't make it. But Lily was also having medical issues. Starting day one, we were already having to go to the vet for breathing allergy, just a whole spew of issues. But she pulled through, and after taking medication already starting at such a young age and being looked at and looked after, she got to come home with us, and we spent the next long period of time with her. We had her for her entire life. She was born March 2nd, and um, March 2nd, 2021, and we had her up until this passing June 9th, and uh, it was a hard but long journey. Um, so us being able to bring her home, this was around the time COVID and all that jazz was happening, but also Christine and I had just now gotten married, right? We just began our journey through life together, and then here comes not even like 3 full months into it, and we're welcoming the equivalent of what became our child to our lives. And fortunately, her being a violinist and all, and working through school to get get ready to become a teacher and all that. We had a lot of availability and free time, especially with it becoming summer, to really sit down and work with her. I was working from home at the time, and we we got firsthand experience of getting to work with her, train her, uh, love her. I remember working on her on the whole teething thing and learning how to bite gently when it comes to people. Because I play fight with many of my animals and many of my friends' animals. Um, I wanted her to know that if she was gonna do anything, do it to me. But if you're gonna do it, you need to like at all be gentle about it, right? Like there's a reasonable force. So I remember Christine making fun of me because yeah, we were egging each other on, play fighting and everything, and she sliced both my ear just like clean open, like could peel it and see gap. Um, Followed by her just slicing my nose straight open. Um, Similar thing, like oh, it was bad. It was bad. But it I don't blame her. It was my fault. Like I'm egging her on. I face to face level with a baby puppy, right? But we we did everything we can and could, and naturally, when people have dogs and stuff, you people try to do like kennel or cage training. Some people have their dogs outside, and then they come inside every once in a while, or bad weather and stuff like that. Um, we had gotten the big old like a bunny gate outside thing that took up like half of our living room. Attached it to like a kennel that opened on both the side and the front, so that way it was fully open and everything. And we learned quickly on that she did not like being in like the enclosed spaces. Um, but if we had both sides open, then like she wouldn't be opposed to sleeping in there. But really what she liked to do was always sleep with us. So shoot, whenever we were in the early puppy phases, I actually slept on the floor inside the rabbit cage with her. Very uncomfortable, mind you. Um, and she would cuddle up with me. Even whenever I was working, I would just work on the floor, do stuff similar with that. On some days when I was just in excruciating pain because I was always on the floor, we'd move the cage to encompass the couch. As we never had an issue with her destroying furniture, um, and I would lay down on the couch and have like my feet and arms dangle over, so that way she could uh always have a way to get to me. Um, and it was fun. We we did bark boxes and stuff because we didn't have toys, we didn't have treats or food or anything. And unfortunately, um I didn't know this about schnauzers at the time, but they're prone to a lot of like actual issues with like pancreas stuff, liver stuff, GI, like ton of health issues. Didn't know that. Didn't know that they just have a bad track record of that. Uh we knew she was already like having sickness stuff in like the first week of life, but we it could have been a fluke, something like that. Turns out she did have some pretty intense GI issues, and she somehow inherited my ARFID. So it was really handy getting to do the bark boxes. We would get different varieties of flavors and treats, soft, hard, chews, big, small, etc. And that helped a lot. We had to throw away a lot and donate a lot that she was never interested in, but when we did find stuff she was interested in, we went head first and like bought all of it in bulk. Um, and that worked for a time being. So for the early years, it was a lot of good moments. A lot of we didn't have too many things to worry about outside of the GI, digestive, pancreas issues and stuff like that. Um, and we really got to grow as a family. I know when COVID started, the return to office started. Um, I know my work was interested in bringing me into the office, and we had done a test to see what would happen in the event we needed to leave your dog home alone. It happens, right? Um, in fact, I'm pretty sure we're the anomaly in this case, but we did an experiment. We left Lily alone for 2-ish hours to go hang out with some family and friends. And I remember coming home and it was a mess. She went from never being an issue, never doing things that were destructive, never doing anything that would be a problem. Um, I'm not counting bathroom stuff. It's gonna happen. Uh, Even the most well-trained dog's gonna poop on your floor at some point. And we came back and it's like, oh, suddenly we have found a way to try and move everything around. We found a way to try and off ourselves. We've acquired a taste for any kind of cable, cord, battery, electronic, rock, um, literally anything. Turns out she had very bad and very high anxiety. So with that test, we were like, "Oh, geez, we can't leave her alone." We didn't know what the heck was going on, and we had talked to the vets before, and we realized she was a very anxious dog, but we did not realize that she was that anxious. So she inherited my high anxiety too. What a joy! True fish family member. And we decided that really leaving her alone was not good. No matter what the scenario is, nothing would be more important if it meant we left her alone and something happened and we weren't there. So from that point on, we ultimately decided that no matter what, somebody would need to stay home, pretty much full time. If we couldn't be home, we would need to have a very trusted friend or family member that could be our eyes and ears, and we didn't care how the situation worked, be it if we went to their house or they came to ours. We do whatever we needed to do to ensure that somebody would be home with her. And that was the case for the rest of her life. She never needed to worry about being alone. She we eventually got her cleared to be my support animal and had the official doctor paperwork and everything. Even then, I still reached out to management at local stores and places just to be like, hey, I have this. I know from a legal perspective, you still have the right to say no. This is the scenario that I have. I just wanted to make sure this is okay before I bring her up. And it turns out a lot of the places were really appreciative that we reached out prior to doing so, and I didn't have a single location ever tell me no. They were all very welcoming, and she started to become like a little rock star um, at some of the places she'd get to go to. But needless to say, we were always attached. So when when COVID started to resolve itself and return to offices started to happen, I was I was in an interesting scenario because I bless Christine. She was very supportive. She's always been there for me. She's always been the best you could ever ask for, really. And she gave me the ability that in the event I needed to, she would rather have me home. Uh, so I pretty much came to management, and I mentioned that, hey, I understand that we're doing the big return to office, and that I'm just a low man on a totem pole here, but unfortunately, with how things had gone, I couldn't leave her alone. It would cause me too many health issues with my stress, my anxiety, and I expressed to them like I have medical paperwork. I have her really well trained. She's hypoallergenic. She's not going to be a bother to anyone in the office, but I'm only willing to come back to office if she's willing to come with me, or you got to let me work from home, or I guess I have to resign, right? And my managers, my coworkers, and even like everyone there was very supportive and understood, and they let me stay work from home. And to this day, still work from home. So I was able to be with her all the time, and that was a great experience. I never needed to worry because no matter what, I had the ability to always be with her. So I know from Christine's side, being a violinist and all, you don't work from home whenever you're playing at gigs or locations. So anytime she had rehearsals or anything, she'd go do what she needed to do. I'd stay home, and because of that, uh, she's got a lot of friends that she's made and talk to all the time, see weekly, and even with all of that, I've never met a good chunk of these people ever. Because if one of us left, the other one was here. And unless we could like take her, but I'm not gonna take her to like a theater or a loud bar or something like that where there's a lot of people. So we were truly just bonded, best friends, attached at the hip for the 5+ years we had. Um, so that concluded that arc, but as she was getting older and getting more available to socialize with other dogs, being updated with vaccines and everything, and getting clearance with all her illnesses, we of course tried to do puppy play dates as the her litter kind of stayed within friends and family group. Um, so we brought the very first hangout. I won't forget it, and I won't apologize. Um, we went over, and all of the dogs, including the mother of the litter, they all kind of like came at Lily, and she was pushed into a corner very quickly, and she was not happy. She was very scared. They were not. It was not like a friendly-ish type of thing. But I made sure I was always within reach of her. So whenever this started happening, I remember just started scooping dogs, sliding or doing whatever I needed to, and I grabbed two, threw them back, grabbed Lily, and I just held her, right? Uh so our first experience with dogs did not go so well. Um so we tried our local dog parks and stuff like that. And oh boy, her first trip to the dog park, we did not park at the dog park itself, right? We parked a decent amount away so we could walk there. And boy, did she let that dog park have it. She was screaming, her iconic puppy bark, and uh, that we always called it a puppy bark, but she ended up, getting older. But her bark was deafening. It's very hard for someone like me who is very much like I've been diagnosed and been disabled with my autism and stuff. So having the oversensitivity with all my senses combined with a deafening bark it was a journey.
you barking at it? Okay, well, wait till Mama gets it. Speak. Good girl. Speak. Good girl. Speak. Good girl.
What's that? It like it sounded like you had to poop. Yeah. Oh, I got you. Oh, I got you.
I'd like to say I got used to it, but I never really got used to it. But it's something that I've grown to always know it's there. But we took her to the park, and she was not having it. We were far. We were screaming, screeching. Uh, we eventually made it to the dog park, and we got inside, and they had small dog, large dog sections, so we never needed to worry about too much. And there wasn't usually a ton of people there when we tried. And I remember some people, and they were like, "Man, did you guys like hear like all this blah blah blah?" Like they were like, whatever was happening, what demonic screeching or a car braking or something. They were asking us, since we had shown up after. And oh boy, the look on people's faces. No, that was just us. That's her. Um, she never did get used to dogs. She was always okay if they had no interest in her. But the second they turned and like started walking to her, immediately ran to me or Christine. We'd get in between our legs, do everything we could to put us in between her and the dog. But as long as the dog wasn't interested and it was just vibing, Lily would go up, sniff it. She didn't know how to play, so if any dog tried to play with her, the only thing she knew how to do was bark. So she would bark, and then she would play chase if the dog would want to play chase and run away from Lily. But if the dog tried to chase Lily, that was it. It was run to me, jump up in my arms, right? Like, no, we don't get chased. So I remember we tried doing the dog park. We tried our best. Poor Christine. Around all of this time, she was having some knee issues that ended up that having a constant knee dislocation problem, not great at a dog park. So we eventually stopped going to the dog park because Lily was not really enjoying it anymore and was kind of traumatized when uh Christine had a dislocation at the dog park from dogs bumping into her. uh Ironically, Lily had bumped into her at home, causing a dislocation at one point. And Lily's face, anytime you said anything that could be even perceived as an ow or that you were in pain or discomfort, it was something that she would always eardrop everything. She would feel so bad. She'd feel so sorry. She would come up to you and try to give her her paw, um, try to help you through it. If she hurt you, she would try. She would have the same reaction and want to help you, but she would keep her distance because she's like, "Oh no, like I've done this." It was very cute, but very sad at the same time. Um, and it led to Lily getting traumatized by specifically Christine crying. Anytime Christine would start crying or blowing her nose, Lily would immediately try to like get closer to me. there were times where, like, if we were on the couch and it was me, her, Christine, we were watching like a sad movie or something, and she would cry. She would blow her nose, and Lily would go from resting, get up, crawl onto my lap, and like side eye Christine just to make sure like she didn't hurt her or anything. And thankfully, having Lily around, Lily was a massive support for Christine. Once we ended up having to the absolutely massive, I think it was like 6 surgeries combined into one knee surgery for her. Lily was very supportive, tried to be as comforting as possible, and give Christine the love and support she could. And around all of these times as well, we going back to all of our health issues, she we tried to always take Lily on walks. We go, I personally try to walk like 2 to 3 miles every day, um just to get outside, mainly to listen to music and kind of like escape reality and go into my own special reality. um I would try to take her on them. If she was interested, we'd go. If she wasn't interested, then she'd stay home. She'd look out the window and wait for me to return. It was always so much fun whenever I'd be walking home and I'm like 4 houses away. I'd see Christine open the door, and you just see Lily just full sprinting. She didn't cross the road. She did not believe in crossing the road without being told to. We taught her cross. So she would run around the corner of the street to run all the way to me, and like jump in my arms and attack my face, and with puppy hugs and kisses. um and that was it was always fun. If she wasn't doing that, I'd be walking up, and we have a low front window, and her head would be staring at me through the window and be like, and I'd start gasping like from the outside, and I'd maybe even do like a little jump or whatever, and she'd start barking and run to the front door. um and Unfortunately, one of the walks we went to, we do like to frequent parks and take Lily on strolls and all that. And we learned the hard way about rain and not visiting parks. A couple like within a couple of days after a massive rainstorm, as she ended up getting giardia. Um, so that was a fun. I want to say it was like a 6 month adventure of her having a very weak system and very bad digestive system, combined with giardia. For those who don't know, it's very intense and very awful. Um, the treatment for it was doubly as bad. It was a rough 6 months. When it came to medicine and medicating it, it's one of those you can treat it, and the treatment is a couple of weeks. However, giardia can live in soil for months, right? So the common thing is that they can reinfect themselves. So we ended up killing a lot of grass. We would do front yard and backyard limitations of, we've been using the backyard without the medication, we've started the medication, so we, after a certain amount of time had happened, we'd move to the front yard so it would be more safer. Anytime she had to do anything, we'd boil like steaming hot water, because that does kill giardia. We'd dump it on the grass spot, absolutely boiling and killing the grass for a year or two to come. um just absolutely eliminating any kind of chance of reinfection. But even with her, with her systems and all her illnesses, it was it was always rough, because if something always took 2 weeks to treat, for her it usually take 3 to 4. It was always twice as long to recover. And that was definitely the case with giardia, and it turned into a new staple of, after we had resolved the giardia issue, her system was even weaker than before. And that led us to, we started incorporating like fiber powder and stuff in her daily meals. Um, so that way, help keep things going, right? And we moved forward, we corrected what we could, we got her back on track, and everything went back to normal. It was nice for a brief period of time. Um, and then we got to deal with, shortly after, more skin infection. She started getting skin infections. We weren't entirely sure how she was even getting the skin infections to start with. There was we think it could have been allergy related. We were doing tests and stuff. Nothing was really showing anything like matter of fact. Um, but that was fun. We got to treat that. That took us a couple of months to get over as the normal. Again, we would treat it. It'd come back. We would treat it, except this time we would double the treatment, and it eventually resolved itself. Um, so that was fun. But the thing that neither Christine or I were prepared for was in May of 2025, following all of the sickness we had in the years prior. Her system had begun to not work as it used to be. Um, she started having a lot of bathroom visits. She started having just a lot more water intake, and we knew something was up. And we officially got diagnosed with diabetes. Um, Her body just wasn't able to handle it anymore. Couldn't do it itself, and we did so much research. We did a ton of research. We talked to a ton of different medical staff. We talked to a ton of people online. We found online communities that had, I kid you not, like hundreds of documents and like things to support and what you can do, alternatives for XYZ, what to do in this exact situation. And Christine and I, we really grew our belt of tools. We learned how to handle it. We learned, the hardest part was learning that we needed to do insulin shots twice a day. We learned how to do that. We learned how to do it safely. We learned all the precautions we needed to worry about. Um, and we learned that vets would do blood curves where they would take their blood sugars every 2 hours for a 12-hour period, so that way you can see the pivot as you feed and do the insulin shots every 12 hours. And we realized that for them to have done that, we would need to have leave Lillie in their hands for an extended amount of time. And we researched it and we figured out how to do it ourselves. So we took her home, we figured out how to do it, and we did it. Honest, I will pat ourselves on the back on this one. We did this remarkably well. We've been told by many different vets, many different medical staff, that they wish that all of their diabetic parents were like this, diabetic pet parents. Um, we were doing blood curves. We were doing responsible blood curves of every couple of weeks at the start. And I remember our first vet was so impressed that we were able to do the blood curves and do the insulin adjustments as necessary to get her to such a stable point that usually it takes people 6 to 9 months to get into a stable track and really like get a grasp on the diabetes and get the blood sugar levels back in control. And we had managed to do it within 3. So she was like, because you guys managed to do this so fast, the chance of her having like cataracts and stuff like that and losing her vision was almost non-existent. Which was amazing. I was always terrified in the event that she would lose her vision, because she loved looking outside and keeping an eye out on the house and making sure we were all okay. So we were really excited that we managed to be so on top of it and so ahead of the curve, even with Christine not having work for a couple of months, me doing what I needed to do so that way I would be able to help as well. Um, we we really crushed it in that department, and that was great. It did help. And then leading back to the vision thing, We did learn that she became very angry at Amazon specifically. So we had ordered, as everyone does, ordered some Amazon products, and Amazon pulled up into our driveway and just thought the car was in park. Car was in fact not in park. Drove straight into our we have garage, like part of the house garage. Drove straight into the middle of it, hitting this garage door. Um the garage door was bent super bad. My car was not touched. I was fine. Um the median post just absolutely destroyed. But I'm just sitting here working at home. I hear her like doing her normal bark that someone's at the door. Uh Followed immediately by this massive boom, and I'm like, what the heck was that? She begins to lose her ever-loving mind. Amazon drove through our house. 10 out of 10 experience. Uh, After that, anytime there was an Amazon truck, we did not trust it. We don't trust Amazon. We don't trust Amazon employees. We'd let them have it. We'd growl from down the street, right? Like, it's not even about our house. It's just period. It's on site with Amazon. So that became a fun experience, and knowing that we managed to prevent her from losing her eyesight with how on top of it we were, definitely helped. The biggest hurdle was once again with the diabetes diagnosis, her system being just so weak. We had to find another food brand that was healthy and supportive of her to help things out that she would also eat. And we eventually found like a good combination of like wet and kibble that we could mix, and everything was great. Everything was working. Uh but there were also a ton of good times of her befriending some of our neighbors, like Dwight. Um, they lost their dog, had a bunch of health issues, and Lillie, where she didn't like a bunch of people, wanted to go up see him every day, 9:30 on the dot. It kind of became a routine for both of them, and I know it helped him a lot being able to see her. Um, she definitely had some neighbors that she did not like, but she definitely had neighbors that she loved more than anything as well. Um, Also, just really impressive with everything that she managed to learn as well throughout the years. That was mainly Christine. She was doing a lot of research on how to do that prior to getting the first dog and how to train them, and I kind of let her take the rein on it. She knew a ton of stuff, but everything from like just paw, sit, speak, sit pretty, roll over, stay, leave it. There was one of my favorite moments was Christine showing her friends the leave it. Uh, Lillie just eyeballed the treat. Christine then started talking to her friend. 10 minutes later, Christine forgot about it and was like, and Lillie was just turboed on the treat. Uh, she was very good at that. And then her default to everyone just became to just give her paw. It was always very nice, very sweet. Um, and some of her favorite things to do were just sit at the window, watch the neighborhood, bark at anybody or any living thing that went by. Um, Bark at a car, kill Amazon, of course. Um, and some of the most peaceful moments were when we just sat in the front porch with her on my lap while sitting in the chair, either waiting for Christine to come home from a gig or something. That dog learned the sound of the car going into park, and whenever that car went into park, we would jump off my lap and run to go greet her mama. Um, it was always fun. And she never really destroyed toys. Very very gentle. Where we taught her how to be gentle with playing with people. That kind of went into her toys as well. So she never really destroyed anything. But of course, I'm gonna spoil her. And the amount of times I come home, like, I got you a new toy. She would always be so excited. We're through the roof, and then we'd play for it and play with it. 30 minutes, hour or so. Um, that's it. That's it. We would stop playing with it forever. Very very rarely would she ever return back to one. So a lot of the times it just went in the basket with all the other old toys. Um, but she definitely had a few favorites. Like there was a toy sloth that we had gotten for her before she was born. She had that, and we held on to that for her entire life. Um, there's a golden star that she successfully puppy napped out of my mom's purse when she was visiting. And I'm like, where in the world did you get that toy? And my mom let her have it, but she loved that thing. She would walk around with it. I know we have photos of her posing with it next to her. She kept that thing around. Um, tennis balls and squeaky, like little tiny bouncy squeakies, were always her go-to. But it was always nice that like she would pretty much no matter what if she wanted something, she was very good at conveying what she wanted. And even if we were in the middle of something, we'd always stop what we were doing to help with it. If she wanted to go for a walk, we're going for a walk. She wants to go play, we're gonna go play. We taught her how to ring bells to let us know when she needs to go outside, and then we had multiple different bell sounds of like, okay, if we're ringing the bells this many times, we either really gotta go. If we're ringing them bells like this, we just want to go play. Like, it was fun. It was fun. Another fun thing was that it was always very difficult to even work. I know, like getting to work from home was great, but she like genuinely sometimes always needed to be touching me. And we have tons of photos of me sending stuff to Christine, of like, oh, this is my work day today, and she's either asleep in my lap, so my laptop's farther away. I'm physically having to like hold it. Um, it was always very sweet, always very nice. And I know with her being Schnauzer, most of the time Schnauzers, hate water, absolutely hate water. We, I guess, had she was one of the rare ones, and she was always wanting to play with the hose. She always got so excited. We got her like a little puppy pool. Christine got like a little puppy sprinkler pad, and she'd love to play in it, get absolutely drenched. And everyone knows how wet dog zoomies are. That was always the case afterwards. So we'd have to, come inside, dry her off, potentially bathe her if she got mud on her, and then just all throughout the house. There was also that brief moment in time where we were fostering and helping save another pup, Bella, who got abandoned, and her being like 14 with a ton of health issues, nobody was gonna ever adopt her if she went to a shelter or anything like that. So we kept her. And Lillie, who was never really a fan of other dogs, was very kind to Bella, very supportive of her. Um, kind of let Bella have her own space. Would try to play with her whenever she like felt like she could. Um, it was always very cute, because Lily doesn't know how to play with other dogs, so she would just bark, maybe run around a little bit and bark. And even with like playing around with stuff like that, there were times that like the way that she would want to play with us, if it wasn't with like a physical throw the ball and catch and all that stuff, then it was very much like playing keep away. She loved it. I would just slowly walk after her. She would slowly walk away. Sometimes she would run and then I would run. She'd go under the table and just, oh, where'd she go? Where is she? and then you would see her come sprinting out. Usually, she was always holding a toy. Then we'd play tug or whatever, and then whenever she was done, she would always give you a truce. It's the truce paw. If she was playing rough or we'd go to bed at night and she still had energy, she would fight me and like tear up my arms. And uh, whenever we were done, it was always like stop, like full stop, the good old lick lipping truce paw. And that's how we would always know, like, okay, she's done playing. She just wants to go get a treat. So it was always a lot of fun, getting to do things with her. And shout outs to my parents. They, during one Christmas, gave us a puppy stroller so we could take her places. And she actually enjoyed going in it and going on road trips, as long as like it was a short road trip and she could be outside the window, of course. But we'd take her on the stroller and we'd go everywhere. Um, Shoot, some of our neighbors, they were having health issues with their dog, and we let them borrow Lily's puppy stroller. Now they got some of their own to help take care of their elder pets. So Lily, like, truly was making a difference in a lot more ways than the normal average pup. And I'm definitely gonna miss her sleeping like on me holding her, and it already having all the clean floor space of no more blankets or beds all over the house for her to be comfortable on, in any room that she ever wanted to be in. Um, it's already like a massive void, not just in our hearts, but also just in the house. So now we'll fast forward to this year, and we had noticed in the spots that we were doing insulin injections, because we would mix it up. You don't try to avoid as much scar tissue and other issues as possible. Um, we started to have some bumps, and the bumps were scary, but we there was a chance that they could be scar tissue. She wasn't acting out of the ordinary. There was nothing we needed to worry about at the time. Um, Before anything even happened from the bumps, she randomly just she'd be walking. We were playing outside, and then she just started really favoring a paw. And anytime she would be hurt, or anytime she would step on a thorn, or have a sticky, or even just like slightly sprain her paw or something, you could see the pain on her face, and she'd always come to us for kisses and make it feel better. And it was very abnormal to see her do that, but not show any signs of pain, discomfort. So I actually ran to her in that situation, and I took her paw, took her leg, looked around, felt around, moved it. No issue. She's not showing me any resistance. I'm not feeling anything. Uh, I like let go, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" Like, and then she just runs after the toy, and I'm like, fluke incident." Then we monitored it. We kept it down in like our notes that what had happened. And then she jumped down off the chair. We were taking her blood, and anytime we took her blood, we would give her a treat afterward, right? Because it's not fun getting pricked with a needle and having your blood drawn. And she always let us do whatever we needed to. So we would always give her a treat afterwards. So after we pricked her, she jumped down off the chair so that way she could go get her treat. Everything as usual. But except this time when she jumped, she could not stand anymore. She absolutely could not stand. And that was very alarming. We at first thought maybe she jumped and landed weird and like tweaked, broke her foot. Um, we scooped her up. We immediately took her to the vet, and while we were there, we addressed the bumps, and then we addressed the foot. Unfortunately, we were told that the foot might have been like a slight tear or sprain, knee problems potentially, and that we may need to be on joint supplements going forward. But that ironic that now she's inheriting Christine's knee issues. She's getting our medical stuff from both of us. And that the bumps were weird to our vet. She was like, I've never seen things like this of this like largeness before. So, like it could be scar tissue. And we were doing all the questions necessary, and since everything was normal, we just we're gonna treat the leg. We know she has a very weak system, and we don't want to like overdo it, so we just got the medicine for the leg. We did not do her up-to-date vaccines for the moment, and we went home. And to touch on how fragile that system was, that I don't have anything right next to me. We had a tortilla chip that was like this big, of like a Dorito chip had broken off, right? Something that like to the average person you wouldn't even like pay attention to. That may be something you just vacuum up later. That you just a very very small amount, right? And she got to it before we got to it, and that began like a week's worth of like very violent bloody diarrhea. Not fun, not pleasant. Anytime we had any kind of small hiccup like that, always was a problem. And now with the diabetes diagnosis, we're like, we really need to prevent her from having like any kind of crumb, period. Like literally no crumbs. We cannot risk a crumb. For blood sugar purposes, on top of we can't risk her getting that violent like diarrheal reaction, or the blood in it either, because that's always that's not good, but it's even worse for diabetic dogs. So Lily's biggest issue is anytime she's on any kind of medication, she always had the bloody stool. So we started the medication. The bloody stool followed. We were on probiotics, and it really helped firm everything up. And we only had to deal with the diarrhea for a day or two at this point, but we managed to get on top of it, correct it, and 2 days after, it was either 2 or 3 days after. This is around near end of May, 2026. The bump on her back, we're just sitting there at the couch. It's like 9:30 p.m. I was just outside with her, rubbing her back and everything like I usually do. We were waiting for Christine to get home from a rehearsal. I'm brushing my teeth. I come out, and Christine makes a comment of like, hey, did you like do something, because her back is really wet, and we like turn on a flashlight because she had dark fur. We learned that it in fact was wet, but it was just blood. Like one of the bumps was just oozing. It was really gross, really alarming, and I had never seen that before. So we know it's always expensive, but there was no chance I was going to wait until the morning. We scooped her up, we took her to the ER, and we started additional antibiotics at this point. Turns out that the bump was oozing because they were abscesses, and the abscesses also helped contribute to some of the scar tissue, and that sometimes like it just happens with diabetic dogs. It's not unusual for them to get it, especially from the injections, no matter how sanitary the needle and everything is. Just every time you're poking it in, you're technically breaking some skin and some fur, and it made us feel a lot better that we weren't it wasn't that we were doing anything necessarily that was a problem. We were always trying to be on top of being clean. If anything happened, we would just dump the needle, we'd throw the insulin away, we would get new stuff. And I had always tried to make sure we always had literally hundreds of needles and extra. I always made sure I had multiple months of insulin, because you never know. So we started antibiotics for the abscesses, and we thought that would be that. So now we've started antibiotics. We're still on the knee corrections. The leg started to get better, so we thought for sure like this might have been the thing. Um, we don't know how much of that was because of the medicine or just she started not walking as much, so it was less frequent. But we made it a week. So after a week, 7 days out of our 10 days of antibiotics, we went to the vet. We did not go to the vet. We were at home, and she out of nowhere started having seizures. Um, that was incredibly alarming for Christine and I, and we again no hesitation. We took her to the vet, and there's a condition called DKA for diabetics, and we knew that she was showing a lot of the signs of DKA. And we knew in the event that she went to DKA, that would pretty much be the end of the road for her. So we were embracing ourselves for the absolute worst. We took her up there, and we had a very kind vet, and she did pretty much every test under the sun. And once it was a very long Saturday. Uh, once we waited, we got the test back. Everything was everything was good. Um, which was not good. Uh, there were a couple of things that were outside of the standard deviation, of course. She had a slight fever, but she was currently dealing with the abscesses. She's currently dealing with the leg issue. And they said it was nothing out of the ordinary. The only thing that came up was that she had a UTI. And that's not unusual for diabetic dogs. In fact, it's super common. In fact, it's so common that you usually don't even have signs that they're having um, a UTI. They just happen. And that's kind of why you want to do your checkup so often. And with the UTI, it was a little alarming because she's been on antibiotics for so long, but everything was looking perfectly fine. So they mentioned it could have been a fluke, could have been a one-time thing because she's starting to not eat anymore. She's starting to not drink. She was a little dehydrated, so we hooked her up, got her some fluids, and it it we just hoped and prayed that it was just a fluke. So we took her home, and then it was very important to monitor her for the next 24 hours, which we did. We did not let that dog out of our sight. She has a tendency that she always has to be in the same room as me. So the thing is with everything going on, she was also very sleepy. So since we weren't really walking, we always wanted to sleep, and because of that, we'd let her sleep wherever she wanted. We have like a puppy ramp that would allow her to get up on the bed with us. So she's been sleeping in the bed with us for her whole life. I know people are going to be like, you never let the dog sleep in the bed. I don't care. We let her sleep in the bed. That was my child. She slept in between Christine and I all the time. We have some amazing photos of the two of us just crashed out on bed. I even have my mouse pad right here of some of our photos of just that's just normal for us, right? And because of that, she was just sleepy. So sometimes though, she just doesn't want to. She didn't want to be sleeping like on you or physically sleeping and touching you. She just needed to be in the same room or same presence as you. There were plenty of times where we'd be in the bed for the night, and she's like, "I don't really want to sleep in bed." So she'd like walk down the puppy ramp and just sleep on the floor. We got blankets and puppy beds all over the house, so that way, anytime she needed or didn't want to be on like a couch or a bed, she could sleep on the floor. So over the 24 48 hours, um like I'd be in this chair. If she was knocked out and just wanting to sleep, she would be sleeping like right here on the floor next to me. um I'd be like, okay. So then I'd hop in the chair, and I always had like a foot extended, and we were kind of touching. Christine, bless her heart, she was going through it, so she had slept on the floor, with her. Even Lily didn't know that she was on the floor with her, but Christine just could not. She was too afraid. So there was one night, I think the night we did bring her home, we all just decided to sleep on the hardwood floors together. So that was a fun experience. We did not get much sleep that night because we were very concerned. Even when we did sleep, we were waking up every little bit just to double check. And um, shoot, we didn't even clean up that we all slept on the floor with comforters and blankets on until literally, yesterday, like a day or two after everything has concluded. Um, but we didn't have any more seizures, but we were still pretty much protesting food and drinks. And we were getting down to the point that we were no longer just protesting, the kibble, with her food being kibble wet, and then the treats that she adored. We were protesting the kibble because it was circular, looks like medicine. We don't like medicine, so we weren't taking the kibble. And then we got to the point we weren't eating canned food anymore. And then we just weren't eating treats anymore. We weren't interested in anything. There wasn't anything we'd want. Um, Whenever she stopped drinking, we learned that maybe she would drink if we got a water bottle and like opened the plastic cap and poured water in that. She would drink out of that. So if we were like, if you're not gonna drink your water, we will literally hand feed you and hand water you. I don't know. We got to the point we weren't doing that. We weren't doing anything anymore. Walking full stopped. We were pretty much picking her up, carrying her to and from any location, and yeah. Um, we we then went back to the vet, and we we got more fluids put into her. We did some reviews. We were making sure everything was still pretty much the same. And then unfortunately, uh, with everything being the same, we got fluids and everything in her. After waiting the amount of time to get it, she came back home, and that night for dinner, we took her outside, as you do. We set her in the grass. She did her business. We picked her back up. We came inside, and then we tried the song and dance of trying to get her to eat. Because we, based on how much they eat, is how much insulin you need to give them, and we have a window. So we sat down and tried to get rid of to eat, and the seizures came back tenfold. At that point, um, it was getting very bad, and afterward she'd be in shock. She didn't know what was going on anymore. She'd look around, make sure we were like there, and I was physically holding her when these were all happening. So, uh, we called the vet. We called the emergency room, and they were pretty much preparing us that this could be the end. The quality of life had gone down significantly. We're not eating, we're not drinking. Everything vital wise is not an issue. And even things like the leg, turns out she might not have sprained or hurt anything, but could have been having diabetic neuropathy, and her body was more than likely shutting down. Christine and I needed to make a hard decision, and we ultimately decided that we weren't we weren't ready. We were not gonna cave yet. This could be another fluke, right? This could be another fluke. She's not eating, she's not drinking, like her body's very weak. So I would be damned if I did not try to, even if this is worst case scenario, we're having a good time. So she always loved putting her head out of the window. My car is scratched into oblivion from her dangling outside the window and moving around because she just absolutely loved the wind in her fur. Um, I told Christine we're taking her to the park. So she wasn't strong enough to even get to the window. Um, she wanted to. I was feeling her try. Um, but she could not. So because of that, I just picked her, held her up like parallel to the window, and like dangled her little head out and everything, had her paws out, and let her enjoy the wind. We got to the park, and we have a puppy stroller that we use to take her to locations, and I didn't want. It was a very bumpy path, and she kept looking back at us, so I just decided to pick her up, and we walked that entire park, and I just carried her. Um, Unfortunately, while we were at the park, and while we were also driving, the seizures were not stopping. Um, they were increasing with occurrence and length. And that's when we came to the realization that we we may be prolonging something and risking this getting worse. Um, and the last thing we need is for her to have a full blown seizure that doesn't stop, that we have to drive with her in that condition to the car, and then they're expediting the whole process, and we don't get to say goodbye. And when we decided after the park, we went to the ER. That entire trip, she got to enjoy the window. Um, we we brought her in, and there was no shaking, there was no anxiousness, there was no nerves. She was just she was panting, and she was her, but she was not her. Um, she was holding it together, I think, for us, and I think once we showed up, the adrenaline must have kicked in as the seizures started to be less frequent, and things were happening. But we did our triage. We did our we took all of the everything, um, and we started to have heart murmurs, which were new outside of everything else. This was the first time there was no fever. It was going down. Um, things things were not looking great. Um, and our vet sat down with us and explained what was going on. And we got to say our final goodbyes. We didn't have another seizure during our goodbyes in our private room. Um, she licked the absolute hell out of my face. I got the tongue straight up in my nose way more than a few times. Very, very uncomfortable, but very, I was gonna let her do whatever she wanted. Um, the the entire time, uh, we didn't have her on the table. I just held her. I let her be as comfortable as possible. And as we said our final goodbyes, we knew that there were two uh medications. One to put them to sleep, and then one to put them to sleep. I asked, um, I asked if we could have some time in between the two. I know they typically do it, and it's very quick. But I knew that we would need some time. And I'm happy we did. Because even down to the end, um, with the medicine that they put in her system designed to make her go to sleep, so that way she wouldn't have to feel any pain, she was even fighting that off. She was trying her best, and Christine and I, we were talking to her, saying her goodbyes, extended goodbyes. It took a while, and we saw her eyes finally close as she was starting to go to sleep, and I still made the vet wait. I wanted to make sure she was in a calm, peaceful state. So as her heartbeat started to slow down and her breathing started to return to normal, I realized she was getting more okay, and she was more in a trustworthy state. So she started to close her eyes and go to sleep. And we said our goodbyes, and here we are. So it's so to Lillie, my best friend, truly someone that I loved with all my heart. Uh I I miss you. I miss you more than you'll ever know. I really hoped that my medical issues would have been a problem before yours. I really wanted to. Really did not want to have you go first. I really wanted it to be me, but unfortunately, we don't. That is not the case, and I, I'll miss you. You've left a forever massive impact and c- continuously rippling effect to your mama and I and all of our friends and family and even the vet techs and vets that have known you, and so many people have reached out with support because you were truly the greatest. Many may have claimed to be the greatest, but in fact it was you. You've always been my shining star, and I don't know what things look like without you right now. And it's going to be very difficult. It's already been very difficult, and we will do our best. And I I hope you save me a spot because we will definitely be reunited again. There's no way I will ever pass up that opportunity. My little bean, and I love you. I miss you, and we'll we'll be okay. We will hold down the fort, and we will make sure that there are no squirrels. The Amazon steps off. Doesn't come to the house or drive through it. We'll fight them for you. Um, and I hope you know the impact you've made has been tremendous. If you could only know that even even after you've already gone, anytime we took you on a walk to a park and you would see someone who was disabled or an elderly person or anyone who might have been hurt, you weren't trusting of people at all. But you would always try to go up to them to help them out. and your constant want to be a support and help anybody who ever needed it has continued afterwards. We've been able to get in contact and help donate a ton of food, a ton of insulin needles, insulin medication, uh, all to people and other animals out there who were not as fortunate as you to be with Christine and I able to take care of you for everything and always. So you are still making an impact even afterwards, helping save other pets' lives and other uh, people from potentially not having to lose their forever pets. So, thank you so much, Lillie, for being the absolute best friend, best dog, and soulmate that we could ever have asked for. I love you, and I'll see you when we get home. Bye, Lillie.